and welcome to the next edition of the Exponential DFS podcast on the 15th. It is a Wednesday, and it is a 10-game slate today. I'm joined again by Corey. We're going to be talking through the slate again today. It was an interesting day yesterday. Neither of us played, but definitely it seemed like an interesting slate to kind of follow, even though we didn't play. Monday didn't really treat us too great. Thankfully, we kind of played lower volume than we normally do. I played basically half of what I normally play, and I was pretty thankful for that. I played way too many Toronto bats and cash, and that kind of burnt me a lot. So I'm still a little tilted about that. But so today, like I mentioned, 10-game slate, no Coors.
No Kershaw.
No Kershaw. Missing out on quite a few good games, not playing the all-day slate today, but we're only talking about the main slate, so the 7 o'clock Eastern slate like we normally do. These split slates, I don't know what your opinion is, Corey, on the split slates. I don't normally play any split slates at all, like the all-day. You really have to be basically sitting around waiting for lineups all day long. So I don't normally play the all day.
Yeah, I don't either. I agree.
Yeah, it definitely makes things a lot more difficult too on a day like this where the split slate has Coors in the beginning of the day. You also have Kershaw in the beginning of the day. It definitely, I would not want to. It would be a fun all day slate for sure, but definitely a lot less headaches, a lot fewer headaches playing the main slate. So. Jumping right into it, kind of going off some of the Vegas lines. There's no game above a 10 over under today, which, I mean, not all that surprising, I suppose. With no game in Arizona, no game in Coors, anything like that to deal with on the main slate. There are a couple teams with pretty high over under totals for their team total. We don't have any pitchers over 13-1. Kluber's the most expensive pitcher. So I guess we can start right there. What are your opinions on Kluber? He's the most expensive pitcher on the slate, $13K on DraftKings. I'm not sure what he is on FanDuel. You might have that written down. He is not favored in this game. I'm sorry, he is favored in this game, minus 132 favorite, so not an overwhelming favorite in this game for sure. He's on the road in Kansas City. So what are some of your opinions here on Kluber?
He's way too expensive. He's way too expensive today. There's just no way I could pay that unless I was in a GPP. Kansas City's still a decent team, hitting wise. They don't strike out. They strike out more than they did last year, but they still, they still nickel and dime you, as I like to call it.
Definitely.
And they'll get your pitch count up there. And I mean, he does. I'm sure he could have some upside. I just don't think in cash games that's the right way to go today.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think even in a GPP, I mean, sure, I could see it. I think this is the type of day with a couple teams with pretty high team totals. Overwhelmingly, I think today is a good hitter day. Whenever you have Mike Pelfrey going any day, it might be a good hitter's day. I agree. I think that he's too expensive. I think overall his price is fair for his production. I don't have a problem with his pricing. I just think on the slate today, I have a problem with the pricing relative to other pitchers. I mean, granted, does he have a great floor today? I think he does. I don't have any concern about him getting you 25 fantasy points today. I really don't. I don't think I have a problem. I mean, he just pitched at home against Kansas City and put up 27. So I don't have a problem. And that was only when he threw 82 pitches, too. So I don't have a problem with him at all. I just don't see him getting to that close to 40-point ceiling that he's kind of priced at. I just don't see it. Yeah, like you mentioned, I mean, they're striking out more than they have been, for sure. But I don't love the play given Kansas City's lineup. And, I mean, he's in Kansas City, which is a ballpark improvement. So if you want to look at the positives there, sure. And he's pitched better on the road than he has at home all year long. So definitely there's some positives here. I don't have a problem with him. I mean, if you told me I don't like Syndergaard's matchup today, so I'm going to play Kluber, I wouldn't say you're dumb. I think there's better options given the price per dollar or point per dollar play today. So going to kind of the next guy in line for pricing, so we have Syndergaard at 11.7. So what are some of your opinions on him today?
I mean, for cash games, to me, he's a lock for the SP1 in my opinion. Because, I mean, he did pitch against Pittsburgh his last start, and he didn't pitch that well. But I think if I read something, I'm pretty sure McCutcheon's not going to play this game. I
Is
don't
he
know.
really? Is he not projected to be in the lineup today?
I heard he got hurt. I don't know. They got him projected him, but I thought may have gotten hurt. But even if he is playing, I just think he's a lock at that price.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how much do you factor in previous starts against a team, whether they be very recent like this case or whether they be earlier in the year? How much do you factor that in to your decision making on pitchers?
Um, you can give your thought too after. I think that'd be good. I don't factor it in a ton unless they have a giant sample size against that team. Then it may factor in, but I'm not gonna completely let it sway me against somebody because you don't get a pitcher usually with a large sample size against a team
True.
very often. So I don't. I mean, I let it a little bit, but not a ton. I wouldn't say a ton.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely consider some of the time when I'm between a couple guys on ballpark, even like what's their history of pitching in that ballpark that they're playing. I do take into consideration their recent starts this year against that team because I think it's pretty telling a lot of the time on kind of their individual matchups against certain hitters. Because I mean, this one I'm not taking into consideration all that much. I think his price is down 700 from where it was his last start against the same team. Yeah, granted, he only struck out 5 guys over 6 innings and gave up 2 earned. That's the only concerning part to me when you look at the numbers. They kind of support that kind of line. I mean, they're under 20% on the year for K percentage. They are over 21% though the last 30 days. So I would not be surprised to see him come back tonight and get double-digit strikeouts against almost the exact same lineup. I mean, he's over 31% on the year for his strikeout percentage. I always like seeing over a 2 on ground ball to fly ball rate. He's moving back home to pitch compared to pitching on the road in Pittsburgh. And I mean, granted, his home road splits really aren't significant. He's pitched basically the same on the road and at home. His ERA is slightly lower at home. So I would say most pitchers prefer to pitch at home, depending on where they pitch, unless you're a pitcher like in Colorado or Arizona, obviously. But I think I don't have any problem throwing Syndergaard as my number one for sure. I trust the guy. I've always liked playing him. He has the K upside. I think he's underpriced. I think he should easily be at 12.5 today, given the slate. Pittsburgh could get to you, yeah, for sure. But like you said, even if McCutcheon's in the lineup, he's obviously not hitting well right now.
Yeah, I read that wrong. I don't know why I thought I saw that.
DeGrom's pitched well against them yesterday. He basically made one mistake all day long, and that was the Kong, and he gave up the two-run home run. So, yeah, I don't have any problem throwing Syndergaard. And it makes you feel even better, I would say, seeing DeGrom have a pretty good day against them yesterday for the most part. So, yeah, I think Syndergaard's, to me, my number one pitcher in cash. The only thing that I would ever get concerned about with Syndergaard on a site like FanDuel where the win is significantly more important, yes, he's a -1. Is he a -1? What is his line today? A -190 favorite. Yeah, he's a -190 favorite, which is very high. But I always have a concern about the Mets putting up runs, run support for him. What's your opinion on that today? I don't think it's a concern to me. I think I would lock and load him probably on FanDuel as well. But that always kind of concerns me when you're worrying about the win. How do you feel about the Mets? Because I don't like their lineup for scoring runs recently. I mean, it's just not been good.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't either, but I mean, if you look at even some of the other guys, I mean, Chris Sale's obviously pitching to contact now. You know, you're not even sure about his win, and you know he got destroyed by the Tigers last time, and you know, I think Kluber is probably the safest lock for the win, I would think, but I mean, I think just with that upside that Syndergaard has today, maybe the win won't, like, even if he doesn't get the win, I don't know if it would kill you tonight because he may just have a little bit more upside than the other two aces going tonight.
Yeah, and I want to correct myself. Kluber's actually a -142 favorite, not a -132 favorite, so that does make a difference. But, yeah, I mean, even with Kluber, you could make the case. I mean, Ian Kennedy's pitched very well at home this year. Cleveland's lineup is very good, but I would say, given the line of -142 versus -190, yeah, I would lock and load Syndergaard on all sites tonight. especially if he's this much of a difference in price from Kluber, and right at that same price point as Sale. I mean, if you told me Syndergaard and Sale are basically the same price given matchup and given recent production and given just overall production the entire year, definitely I would take Syndergaard. So, like you said, so you're not on Sale tonight at all?
No, just because he has no upside. I mean, when you're paying $11K for a pitcher, you obviously need some upside from there. Everybody knows that he's pitching to contact now. It's not a secret, and he doesn't have that upside anymore for me to pay 11.5 for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's had games this year. I mean, he had a 5-game stretch that he was very good. But I have a problem, like you said, with his strikeouts being down, and also the fact that Detroit's lineup is good.
They've been hitting lefties well. At first earlier in the year they struggled really bad, but now they've turned it on lately. And
he just pitched at Detroit, and again, recent matchups to me, when it's this bad of a game, it does tell something. He got a whopping 4 fantasy points against Detroit, and I'm pretty sure that was a start. When was that? That was 10 days ago. I'm pretty sure that was the day we faded him, and a lot of people were on him, and he cost people a lot of money that day. Detroit, I never like to really target them very often. Will they strike out against righties? Sure. I've seen people target against Detroit this year, but I think it's getting to the point now that I'm just afraid to target Detroit, especially with Sale, who's pitching to contact, like you said, more so than he has been before. Okay, so the next guy in line is Stephen Wright.
He's a GPP play.
Yeah,
I think about that.
He's consistent for sure. I never believe he has a ton of upside at 11K with a knuckleball. It's hard for me to roster him. He's had games. He just pitched against Baltimore and threw 122 pitches and had 31 fantasy points in Baltimore. Does he have upside? For sure. He has pitched a little worse at Fenway, which makes sense with the Green Monster in left. But, I can't do it today, especially with Baltimore. That high of a team total. I never really want to roster a pitcher when a team has like a 4.5 team total, for sure. GPP, I could see it because, again, he's probably going to be sub 10% for sure. And Baltimore has some guys that just swing for the fences all the time. So, and like we talked about the other day, that doesn't really work out great against the knuckleball. So, could he have success today? For sure. I'm definitely staying far away in cash.
Yeah.
So I think the most interesting discussion today to have, like we were talking about before the show, your SP2 is definitely not an easy pick today. I think the most interesting discussion that a lot of people are going to have today is Estrada. He's 10.9, which is very expensive. You looked at his pricing all year long. He was right around like 8K. Most of the recent starts, and then he suddenly jumped. And now he's that price. He's 10.9, which is very high. He was 10.7 his last start against Baltimore and only got right around 19 fantasy points, which it's Baltimore. I get it. But how concerned are you about Estrada reaching like a 33-point ceiling today?
He's priced, like you say, he's priced high because of his matchup against Philly. Obviously, we talked about.
And no Franco.
No Franco. That'll definitely help him out.
To be in there.
Yeah, if Franco's in there, Franco's obviously, him and Tommy Joseph are their two best power hitters, and I think we talked about it I think it was the first pod, we said he has a problem. His biggest problem is he gives up a lot of home runs, but obviously Philly's a weaker lineup, so he's definitely priced for that matchup. I don't know if I'd go there tonight because, like we said, there are some bats we like tonight.
Yeah, I have no idea who I'm going to roster as my SP.
Yeah.
I have names written down. I have reasons why I like them and dislike them. Estrada, obviously, the key reason to liking him would be the matchup with Philly.
His price is the only dislike.
His price is definitely the negative. Do I think he's extremely safe if you wanted to go very safe with your SP2? I think he's very safe. I don't think you have to worry about him getting hit very hard. You look at, he has like a 22.3% K rate, and Philly has one over 22% as well. He goes relatively deep into games most of his starts. So I don't think you have to worry about him not getting into the 7th inning probably tonight. But like you mentioned, the problem to me is his price. I don't see a 33-point ceiling tonight, even against Philly. I think he'll be relatively highly owned on the slate, just given there's not a ton of SP2 options, though, to fall in love with. If you want to get some bats in there, can you fit bats with him at 10-9 and Syndergaard at 11-7? Yeah, relatively easily, given that Syndergaard's underpriced. But I think there's other guys you could definitely consider as your SP2 that you're not having to pay 11K for. If for whatever reason Estrada gives you like 22 to 25 points, is that going to kill you? No. But I think there's other guys that could definitely get more points per dollar again that are interesting. So who's kind of the next guy that you're looking at beyond? Because we talked about we like Syndergaard, we're locking him in. We're not fans of Kluber at that price. We're not big fans of Sale at 11.5. Like, I'll put it this way: I'd rather pay for Estrada at 10.9 than Sale at 11.5, probably, given the matchup. Who's kind of the next guy in line for you? Because then we have a huge drop, because we dropped from 11K all the way down to basically 8K with Wainwright. So who's kind of the next guy in line that you're looking at, that you're considering for cash?
Well, I think it may come down to two guys for me. I'm not kind of sure. Like you said, we're kind of still up in there. I think Wainwright's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if, like we said, we have everything kind of written down, and each pitcher obviously has their negatives. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. But, I mean, I can see the upside. I mean, he hasn't been getting the strikeouts. Houston strikes out. They're one of the highest. They K at 25%.
25%? Yeah.
I think the only team that strikes out more on the slate was the Rays, I'm pretty sure.
And I think they may have surpassed the Mets are actually close to 26% against lefties. Yeah, so you have the Mets at 26% basically against left-handed pitching.
Wait, Wainwright's a righty.
No, I'm saying like on the slate, yeah. Overall K percentage, yeah. Mets are number one. Then you have Houston and the Rays tied at 25. Cincinnati's at 23. Minnesota's 24. So there's some high strikeout teams today against that handedness of pitcher. But yeah, they're definitely one of the top strikeout teams.
Yeah, I mean, Wainwright, I mean, he's struggled pretty much all year. I mean, he had his last two starts have been pretty good. I mean, he put up 25 against Cincinnati and 19 against Houston and 18 against Washington. So I mean, that's not bad. I mean, he definitely has some upside, and like we just said, Houston does strike out a lot.
Yeah.
Houston is still a decent team.
Yeah.
I mean, they can still hit. So I mean, but he's worse versus lefties. And I mean, their best lefties, Colby Rasmus. I mean, most of their team is righties. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying Colby Rasmus is a bad hitter.
No. Colby Rasmus is definitely a guy that will strike out.
That's what So I think the K upside is there for Wainwright, and then probably the other guy I'm interested to see what you think is. Did you look at Nathan Karns at all?
I looked at Nathan Karns. The only concerning part to me, I mean, there's a lot of positives here, right? He's pitching in a ballpark he's familiar with. I mean, he used to be a Ray. So he's pitching in a ballpark he's familiar with. He's only 8K. Tampa Bay, like you said, strikes out a ton against righties. They're way better against lefties. The concerning part to me about Karns is he's kind of hit or miss. He has to get me around 20 to 24 for me to be really happy with it, right? And the problem I have with him, like I said, consistency, but also he doesn't go deep into games whatsoever. I mean, if I read to you off and I told you this pitcher he went 4 1/3, 4, 6 2/3, 5, 5, 6 1/3, 6 1/3, 6, like those 4 1/3 and 4, and he's throwing over 90 pitches in those starts are concerning. I mean, is Tampa Bay is going to be a team that's going to sit there and make you throw a ton of pitches and walk a ton? Not really. I mean, they're still at like 8.5% walk rate, so it's not like they don't walk. I mean, whenever you have a guy that throws a ton of pitches to get out of innings, he's been getting hit. I mean, you look at his start against Cleveland. I mean, he threw 92 pitches, had 13.5 fantasy points, and he only gave up a 1 run. I mean, he didn't pitch poorly for runs, but I mean, when you're only pitching 4 1/3 innings, throwing 92 pitches, I mean, that's not good. I mean, his good start out of his last. I mean, he pitched well against San Diego, which is fine. But yeah, I mean, he's been worse lately, I would say, for sure. I mean, that deep into games thing is concerning for me. I mean, Tampa Bay is a great ballpark to pitch in. So he's definitely in consideration for me, just given also the price 8K is very fair.
Do you like Wainwright more than him, than Carnes, or the toss up?
If I had to pick, they're basically the same price. Yeah, I have a feeling like I would prefer Wainwright.
I think Wainwright's going to be lower owned too.
Yeah,
I really do.
it's a tough decision because you're
Yeah.
telling me you're having a guy that's been underperforming this year given his historical performance.
Yeah.
But he's been pitching. He's on the upswing for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, when you tell me that he's giving you almost 20 fantasy points against the Giants, 18 against Washington, 25 against Cincinnati,
That was at Cincinnati too.
to pitch better. Yeah, I mean, he's starting to pitch better.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at this line, yeah, has he pitched well considering he's basically their number one starter? No. But has he pitched well given like an 8K price tag? Sure. I mean, is 16 going to kill you today if for whatever reason he doesn't do that great? Probably not. I mean, the reason why you're paying down to Wainwright would be to get hitters. And I think if you're telling me upside, I think Wainwright has more upside than Carnes does. And I also think Wainwright has more upside given the fact that he could go 8 innings.
And plus, Wainwright has to eventually, positive regress back to how he used to be. I know he'll never be like what he used to be because he used to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. Yeah. He'll probably never be that good because he's getting older. He's had Tommy John surgery. But you got to think he'll regress. He's starting to maybe just regress back to where he used to be a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that gives you a little bit of confidence, too, because Wainwright's actually like a well-named pitcher. And, I'd feel more confident probably rostering him because we know how he could be.
Yeah, the only concern I have is I always have concern rostering a guy that jumps that much in price. I mean,
yeah.
he was, what,
6'1",
57, 56, 61, and now he's 83. So
yeah.
I guess they're pricing him based on matchup and the slate itself, which is fair. I understand it. That's the one decision that I think if you're talking about someone at the 8K range, Wainwright, Carnes, those are the only two guys I like. I mean, I don't hate Ian Kennedy today. I think that's more of a GPP play to me. He's been really good at home. I'm scared of Cleveland, targeting Cleveland and cash. But I definitely think in a GPP, sure. I mean, he's pitched very well at home in Kansas City. I mean, Kansas City's a great pitcher's park for a reason. He has under a 2 ERA, 23 fantasy points a game. His K rate is very nice. Cleveland's not a team that's they're over 21% too on the K rate. So definitely I could see it. Who else? I think there's only one other guy that I have no idea what to think about him today.
Was it Drew Smiley?
No, I won't.
Yeah, okay.
Drew Smiley today.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
am I crazy for looking at Sonny Gray somewhat?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're crazy. I mean, obviously he's not. I mean, a lot of people bash him and say he's not as great of a pitcher as most people think. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible pitcher, and I could see looking at it. Why do you like him?
Just given the right. I mean, he's CP100. He's at home in Oakland. I mean, it's not like I don't think I'm going to be able to do it in cash for sure. I think I don't know. I honestly don't know why I like him. It's things that it's like he's starting to pitch better now. He only needs like 21 points for you to be happy. They're not in Texas, thankfully, but I mean, yeah, it's concerning when you're only striking out 5 guys against Houston and only 4 against Cincinnati. Even though he pitched well, he only gave it 3 earned runs total between those 2 starts. I don't think it's something I would probably honestly just rather pay the extra $1,000 for Carnes or for Wainwright for the safety, and they have more upside than Gray too. It's just one of those guys. That's the last guy. That's the cheapest I would go today. I don't think you're crazy for saying Duffy's in play at 6K. I just don't like him. I don't like targeting the Angels because they don't strike out, but I don't think you're crazy for liking Duffy if Duffy's a guy that you're saying at 6K. He's fine. I think besides that, there's no one else.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on to catcher. So, great day at the catching position. No. Monday, I liked a lot of guys, and most of them didn't even get in the lineup. So, I'll let you start today with catching because obviously a lot of the guys I liked Monday didn't even make the lineup. So we'll see if the guys I like today are even in the lineup.
Okay. Well, I hate doing this to myself. So earlier we talked about how the Blue Jays still have a decent run total.
Oh gosh.
I think Russell Martin's probably the only Blue Jay who's not like overly priced.
I agree for sure.
I don't, and if they got him projected to bat fifth, which is, I mean, for 3.2 on a catcher, I mean, you'll take that all day batting fifth.
Definitely. Yeah.
So I mean, and he's been hot lately. I mean, he looks like he's picking it back up a little bit. So I mean,
yeah,
I don't hate it.
No, I think Russell Martin's a top 3 play easily at catcher today. Maybe probably top 2 to me. I think he's probably a top 2 play catcher. Yeah, like you mentioned, the team total is at roughly 5 again. That did so well for us on Monday.
Get a little piece of it, you know.
I mean, saying I want exposure to Toronto is definitely a smart thing to say. I mean, it's definitely they're facing a worse pitcher. Well, they're not facing, I would say, a worse pitcher than they faced on Monday. The thing about Hellickson is like we talked about. He's pretty tough on right-handed hitters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, he's only giving up a 304 WOBA. His xFIP is what really stands out to me against righties. He's under 3. He has a 2.7 xFIP to righties, which is very, very strong. That's one of the strongest on the slate. The only xFIP guy stronger against righties is Syndergaard. So that's pretty telling.
Yeah.
I mean, Sierra is under 4. His xFIP to righties is under 3. His xFIP to lefties is where it really becomes. I mean, it's like close to 5.2, which is high. But are there a ton of Toronto bats that are lefties that you like? No. To me, I mean, you look at their bats. Name their bats. Edwin is a righty. Bautista's a righty. Donaldson's a righty. I mean, Pilar is a righty.
Yeah.
Russ Martin's a righty.
I mean, and like we were talking about, they got to go to the NL now, so they lose a DH. So they have to decide between Edwin and Smoke now.
Right, which I think by far it's going to be Edwin today. I mean,
because he's their better hitter. Yeah.
So that eliminates a lefty in Smoke.
Yeah.
Saunders is really the only formidable lefty in that lineup, I would say, and he just got hurt yesterday, so it's kind of unknown whether he'll even be in the lineup today. So I'm not in love with Toronto bats today, given their team total at 5. I mean, I definitely liked them a lot on Monday. I'm not as much on them today. So Russell Martin, I think, would be the only bat besides Saunders if he's in the lineup that I like. Russell Martin for sure. Wieters is pretty cheap today. I mean, they have a 4 team total. They're facing Stephen Wright. I don't like targeting Stephen Wright for the most part because even though every team he seems to face gets a high team total in Vegas, he pitches very well. I mean, he has a 344 WOBA and a 176 ISO versus righties. I mean, his BVP is not that great, though, against knuckleballers. I mean, he's 3 for 13 against Dickey, 0 for 1 against Stephen Wright. He was 2 for 7 against Wakefield. So not a guy you're like, I need him because of his BVP against the knuckleball. But he's 2,800 hitting 6 for Baltimore. That's relatively cheap. It's not like you're paying 35 for him, right? So I definitely like him. Who else do you think?
You like Josh Fagley tonight?
He might be my top option right now.
Yeah, I like Fagley a lot tonight, and they got him projected back 6 at 3-1. That's a good spot. And I mean,
Fagley on Monday. There was so many options I liked, and I think I ended up on. Who did I end up on Monday? I don't remember at this point.
Beef. The Beef.
Oh, Beef. Yeah.
Beef.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, and then, I like Fagley a lot today. I mean, there's not a lot to not like. I mean, he's a right-handed power-hitting catcher for the most part, facing a lefty that gives up like 1.4 home runs per 9. I mean, Holland's not the worst pitcher in the world, but he's not very great. He's not that great against righties, and he'll give up the long ball. Granted, it's in Oakland, so it's not a great home run park for the most part. But I think, given the upside, I like Fagley probably the most.
Yeah, and plus he's got I know some people are bigger on it with having the platoon split, which is you got a righty on a lefty or a lefty on a righty. He has that as Russell Martin's a righty on a righty. So if you're big into that.
Hellickson's tough on righties, so
I
don't have a problem if it's righty on righty if the pitcher's not good.
Yeah.
Hellickson's not been bad this year, and given the fact that he has a very good xFIP and good Sierra and things like that, versus righties, then yeah, I'm definitely more on Fagley than Russell.
Yeah.
So I know this guy is not projected to be in the lineup currently, but you never really know with Atlanta. If Tyler Flowers gets in the lineup for 2,300,
Yeah, he would
Kalani,
he would be interesting,
he'd be
definitely.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
Flowers has more upside against righties, which is intriguing. That's a guy that's like the platoon splits righty on righty, lefty on right, whatever. So he's a right-handed hitter. We know that. Desclafani's a right-handed pitcher, but Flowers has been better against righties, and Desclafani is not good.
Yeah.
So Desclafani's been absolutely horrendous against lefties, right?
Yeah.
Righties, he hasn't been that bad. But considering, I mean, he pitches to contact, he doesn't strike anyone out, he's intriguing, right? I think Fake's the top play at the position today, but I think you could make a case for Flowers if he somehow ends up in the lineup hitting like anywhere from 6 to clean up somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I agree.
2,300. I mean, this is a guy that's been in that range, went all the way up towards 3K, and then Brzezinski came back and he dropped right back down. So definitely, I think, an intriguing play, given if he gets in the lineup at that price. So, but I think we kind of agree Fagley's the top play.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on to first base. So a lot to love here for me. What are some of your opinions on first base today?
Okay, so up top you got, obviously you said Mike Pelfrey, terrible pitchers. You got Jose Abreu going up against him, and so he's a good option, I would think. And I don't know.
I'm on board.
Yeah, and then I don't know what you think, because we disagreed on last slate, but I got Joey Votto back into my research again.
I was gonna say if Votto didn't show up today and he showed up on Monday, I mean I have Votto today. Sure, I think he's a good play.
Yeah, this year he struggled against righties this year, but I mean I kind of looked away from this year's number. Over his last 2 years, he has a 365 WOBA versus right-handed, and he's a career 415 against righties.
Yeah,
I mean he can smash righties, and Bud Norris gives up a 411 WOBA to left-handed hitters. So
it's really not ideal.
So that's the reason for Votto. Plus he got 46% hard contact this year. So,
so you had 411. I had 391 for Bud.
Or you have 390?
I have 391. I mean, 411, 391, I guess is a big difference for the most part, but yeah.
You know what? I didn't, I had him saved from the Chicago slate, and I didn't, fix it.
Oh, okay. All right. So his new number is 391, which is still not good. It's not like that's a huge difference for saying, 411's bad and 391's good. No, it's still bad. And its xFIP is like 5.67, so it's not good. I'm definitely on board with Votto. I mean, they're in Atlanta, so that they're not in Cincy, so that's kind of a little bit of a negative for Votto. But for sure, I like Votto. What's your opinion on Freeman?
I think Freeman's really cheap tonight, and I actually really do like Freeman tonight at 3.7. I
think Freeman might honestly be the cash first baseman.
Yeah, I agree.
When you look at Desclafani's giving up he's 509 WOBA to lefties. That's just horrendous. I mean, it's been pretty tough on righties for the most part. I mean, 321's not great, but it's not awful. But 509 and a 664 xFIP and a 602 Sierra. He pitches to contact. He doesn't strike anyone out. He's getting a whopping 3 Ks per 9. So, I mean, I think Freeman to me is under 4K. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then last year, Desclafani, he had a 350 WOBA to lefties. I pulled his last year's number just because he's only pitched one start this year. That's that. But he's still bad though.
Cheated for sure, given his not a lot of innings, but
he's still bad though.
Against
he's still bad.
I think Edwin. This is the day to fade Edwin.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the day. I mean, you look at it. Box score watchers are going to play him. I don't have any doubt in my mind that
I think this is the time to jump ship from Edwin, like you said.
I think Hellickson. Do I think Hellickson is going to shut him down? I don't think he's going to shut him down. But even if you're paying 53 for Edwin, even if he has just like one single, that's not worth paying 53 for him, right? He almost has to homer at 53. I mean, you think about the difference in price. You can get Votto for 900 cheaper. You can get Freeman for a whopping 1,600 cheaper. That's, to me, a no-brainer, given the matchup, too. Edwin's in a much tougher matchup than Votto is, a much tougher matchup than Freeman is. I don't like David Ortiz today at 55. Do I think he's a solid play? Sure. But Gossman's been actually surprisingly tough on lefties this year. I mean, he definitely has reverse splits when you look at home runs allowed. His WOBA to righties and lefties, his xFIP to lefties and righties is also worse against righties. So Boston has a 5-team total, so whenever they have a team total that high, I'm interested in David Ortiz, especially at home. But I think you can fade those top price guys and go like we talked about. I think Votto is a solid play. Freeman's a solid play. Even Matt Adams to me is solid. He's like 34. McHugh is not that great against lefties. He'll give up. I mean, he's giving up almost 2 home runs a 9 to lefties.
Yeah.
And they're in. Are they in Houston tonight or in?
No, they're at St. Louis.
So yeah, I mean, I like Matt Adams. Like you said, Jose Abreu is a solid play as well.
I like DeHuli.
I just don't know if I'll go Jose Abreu tonight or not, given, like we talked about, the righty on righty. I mean, Palfrey's not good, but the righty on righty compared to Votto getting lefty on righty and Freeman getting lefty on righty.
And then one other guy that I got, if you need to go cheaper than Freeman, if you need a cheaper first baseman, I got DeHuli at 3.1K.
Oh, yeah. I like him a lot more for a GPP.
I agree.
I mean, if you want to not punt first base, but go pretty cheap at first base in a GPP to load up at other spots. The outfield's pretty expensive tonight in some spots, so if you like some of those guys, I mean, he definitely is a guy that could hit 2 home runs.
Yeah.
Very easily. So
he's got some power,
Yeah, so I think we kind of agree. I think Votto, Freeman, and Abreu are kind of your cash first baseman to consider tonight. And I think Matt Adams is a nice GPP play tonight. I think he has home run upside against McHugh. All right, so second base. I think second base to me is almost a lock and load for one guy. I don't know how you feel, but who are you kind of considering at second?
So my 2 favorite second basemen it's going to be Dozier.
Okay.
At 4.1, and then I like Kipnis a lot at 3.9.
Okay. So I have 4 names written down. Those are 2 of them. Pedroia, I think I just like him because he's very consistent. He actually has been better against righties this year. I mentioned Gossman has reverse splits this year as well against righties. So I like Pedroia, but like you said, I think I don't think you need to pay out 5K for Pedroia. I mean, he doesn't have a ton of home run upside either. So whenever I'm paying almost 5K or 5K or above for a guy, he better have some sort of home run upside to me. Kipnis I like. I don't think Kipnis has the best matchup in the world.
I would agree.
Ian Kennedy's been, like we talked about, pretty good at home this year. So do I think he has the best matchup? No, but I mean, he still has like a 545 xFIP to lefty. So not an awful play. Kipnis is still underpriced at under 4K, is 39. So definitely I like him. I think my top 2 plays are Neil Walker and Dozier.
Yeah, I like Dozier. I didn't get to say it, but Dozier's got a 434 WOBA to lefties, and he's got a 231 ISO too. I mean, that's just crazy for a second baseman.
I think Dozier's going to be my lock and load cash second baseman.
I agree.
I think Neil Walker is an interesting play. If you needed to save 700 for whatever reason, I think he's still solid. I mean, we want to talk about WOBA and ISO. I mean, he has a 452 WOBA and a 347 ISO versus lefties. He hasn't been as good recently, though, when you kind of look at I'm kind of someone who looks at recent production for hot streaks. I kind of like looking at that. Is that
believer in hot streaks?
Consideration a ton, but I think hot streaks are a thing, and I definitely like to get on board. Not at the when it's done. Like I don't want to be the guy that's saying, "Oh, he's on a hot streak," and I don't play him, and he's getting owned, and his ownership's getting higher and higher and higher, and I'm still not playing him. I mean, Dozier's that guy that kind of is on the upswing, and Neil Walker's kind of on the downswing for recent production. So, I mean, if you needed to save $700 and go down to Walker, I don't hate it. I think Dozier's the better matchup. I mean, we talked about the WOBA and ISO for Dozier. Santiago is giving up almost 2.2 home runs to 9 versus right-handed batters. Yeah. That's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's definitely not good. And they are playing in LA.
Yeah, LA.
So, definitely, I like Dozier a ton. Neil Walker's solid to me as well, but I think Dozier's kind of your lock and load cash second baseman tonight.
I agree.
Third base, I think, is probably the most interesting position today. I don't know what position you think was kind of the toughest to nail down for guys, but I think third to me is kind of the toughest position that it's going to be to pick. I think this is where the ownership's going to be spread out the most.
Yeah, I agree.
So who do you like here?
My favorite is Valencia, obviously. I think that's pretty obvious.
You like Valencia? Okay,
Yeah, because he hammers left-handed
he
hitters. I
does.
mean, he's got 430 WOBA,
And he's
and he's
priced
got
down
decent.
tonight too.
Yeah, he's only 4-1,
Was
and
he over 5K on Monday?
yeah, he was like
5-2 and comes down to
5-2.
1.
Yeah, and I don't mind Todd Frazier again either.
Yeah.
Yeah, against Pelfrey, obviously we said we don't like Pelfrey.
I think
I
we
wrote
can
down.
Donaldson, right? I think we can agree Donaldson's not
Yeah,
performing.
I wrote him down. I would think he's more of a tournament play because he'll probably go really low. And
Oh yeah.
I think he's not for cash though.
I think
maybe
he'll
lower
be
than.
in cash and in GPPs.
Well, he's 5K, so I mean,
I think
we said,
whenever
it's not
Toronto
bad.
is that high of a team total, people kind of gravitate towards Donaldson,
Yeah,
Bautista leading off. I
yeah,
think he'll be owned, but I think there's guys, like we talked about, better matchups, even though Toronto has a 5 team total. I think there's guys with better matchups that are cheaper than Donaldson.
yeah,
You already mentioned one. I think Valencia is in a better spot than Donaldson is, and he's 800 cheaper. I think Frazier's in a better spot than Donaldson, and he's only 4,200. Matt Carpenter I like, but I think he's too expensive for me today. It's a good matchup against McHugh, but it's not one that stands out like you need to play him today.
yeah.
Longoria's in an okay matchup. I mean, I don't want to really pick on Nathan Carnes, but I think Longo is a fine play. I think that's more of a GPP option, like we talked about with Donaldson in that price range. I like Machado.
Yeah, Machado's.
I mean, he's too cheap. Um, the question kind of comes in: would I rather play Machado, Valencia, or Frazier for the same price? Basically, that's a tough decision. I mean, Machado's righty on righty against a knuckleballer. He's 0 for 7 against Stephen Wright in his career. He's 7 of 19 off R.A. Dickey. So I think it's not like a must play. And I would most of the time I would rather play Machado at shortstop than third. That's normally where I play Machado if I play him is at shortstop because it's normally a weaker position. Nunez is in play for me too. We talked about Santiago being really bad against right-handed pitching, giving up a ton of home runs. Nunez is a 442 WOBA and a 400 ISO this year against lefties, and he's 4,500 leading off for Minnesota. So it's definitely, I think, third base is the spot today that, like I said, I think ownership's going to be split up because Valencia is solid, Nunez is solid, Frazier is solid, Machado is relatively solid. So
Yeah.
I think, but if I had to guess, I think most of the ownership's going to be gravitated toward Frazier, Nunez, and Valencia at third. I don't know if you disagree with that, but that's kind of, I think, where most people are going to be today, given the
I
price.
agree. Yeah, they're all pretty much the same. I agree.
I mean, if we had to guess okay, so if we had to guess Donaldson ownership in like the $2 double up, let's say, right? Where do you think Donaldson's going to be on?
Oh, and a double up?
Yeah, and like a $2 double up on DK, where do you think his ownership's going to be?
Like how many?
On Monday, to put this in perspective, on Monday I think he was sub 10.
He was that low?
Yeah, he was low. I was
My
surprised.
games,
I mean, he
my games he was all like 50.
I think he was around 10% on Monday, if I remember correctly. I can double check, but I'm pretty sure he was roughly 10%.
And in most of my games, he was like 40%. But I put that's interesting.
Bautista for me was highly owned.
Yeah, I mean, him and
Donaldson, the $2 double up. Oh,
him and
I'm sorry. Who was I thinking about then? He was 44% in the double.
yeah, he was like
The 150-50 I was in then, that was really low owned because I remember seeing a really low ownership for him and being surprised. Okay, anyway, I thought he was more owned than he was. I'm sorry. Yeah, like he was only 27% on one of my 50-50. I don't know why I saw 10%.
I was about to say, I was like, man, get me in those games.
Okay, then, all right. I don't know why I thought that. Anyway, that doesn't have any effect on today, but I think if he was that highly owned on Monday, I thought he was lower owned than that. I think he'll probably be 20% today.
Yeah, 20 or I was gonna say 20 or like
30?
15. Yeah, or
Probably. I just think the number of options I think will lower his ownership. But I don't have a clear guy that I'm like I need to play him in cash at third. I think any of those guys are pretty solid. Frazier is the righty on righty. Valencia has the righty on lefty. Nunez has the righty on lefty. Machado has righty on righty. So if you care about platoon splits for that, that would kind of lower it to more of like a Valencia or Nunez. But I think any of those guys are very solid plays for sure. Yay, the best position besides catcher, shortstop. So
Okay.
I think
I got this one. I got this
all
one.
right.
I got this one, I think. Okay, so if he makes the lineup, he's projected to bat first.
Oh yeah.
Nick Tim Anderson's got to be the lock because
I think he's the
free.
top.
He's free. He's 2K.
Yeah.
And, like, I read an article about him because, like, I've never heard of him. I guess he was one of the White Sox top prospects, and the guy wrote about him. He's a legit, like, player. I mean, he's not like some, guy they just found randomly and just decided to come. I mean, he was, like, legit. I mean, he stole, like, 40 bases. They said they were a little bit worried about his hitting.
Yeah, he had 2 goals last game.
Yeah, and I mean, he's 2K. I mean, if he got you if he got you a single, I think he'd be happy for 2K.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's chalky for sure.
Yeah, and he's going up against Mike Pelfrey too, which doesn't ever hurt him.
I mean, given the matchup, given he's 2K, given he's probably going to lead off, I don't see any reason why he's not in the lineup today. I mean, I like Machado a lot at shortstop for the most part. Xander's a great play. He's just really expensive. Nunez is shortstop eligible. Simeon hits lefty as well, but I don't think there's any way you can go all the way up to like 4K when you have a shortstop that's been decent this year in his couple games. It's a small sample size, but like you said, it's a guy that can steal bases too. So you get him on base late in the game with a righty pitching. He has upside to steal base, and that's 5 points, same as a double. So to me, he's a lock and load for sure.
Yeah, if he's in the lineup, which he should be, like we said. Let's play he's not in the lineup. Let's just play it so that way. Who would you look to next if he wasn't in the lineup?
If he wasn't in the lineup, I think it would be between those guys I just mentioned. I think Nunez is shortstop eligible for 4,500. We kind of talked about Santiago being home run prone. Simeon is facing a lefty. Again, we talked about all the Oakland guys are relatively underpriced today for the most part. And I think Machado. I would probably rather play Machado than Simeon given the same price, just talent-wise.
Yeah.
And he's in Fenway. I think Machado and Nunez would be the two. And then I don't think Brad Miller's an awful play, but I think Machado and Nunez if Anderson's not in the lineup.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so go ahead and let's move on to outfield. So normally the position with the most options, who do you like to talk about kind of more expensive guys? So are there any really expensive guys that you feel like you kind of want today? So anything from like 4K up, I guess, let's say.
If I can only pick one of those guys, I would have to have, like, if I had to pick one that I want the most, it's probably going to be Nelson Cruz.
Nelson Cruz? Okay, so, I mean, he's 5,000, right?
Yeah, he's expensive, though.
He's expensive. I like him. I mean, I think he's probably in the arguably the best spot for anyone that's in that 5K range, because we have 3 guys up there, right? You have Cruz, Jackie Bradley, and Betts.
Yeah.
The Boston bats are really expensive today, so I don't see them being very highly owned at all in cash.
Yeah.
I consider Cruz, but I don't. Smiley hasn't been that bad. Right?
Yeah, Smiley's not that bad.
Him, and he's in Tampa, so it's not the best hitter's park.
Yeah.
Does he have home run upside for sure? I think I'd rather pay for Trout at 47.
Yeah, I could.
Maybe. I mean, it's tough because Duffy's been relatively good this year too. I mean, and then you have Eaton.
I like
what's
Eaton
your
a lot.
Eaton at 46?
I like Eaton a lot. I think he's an awesome play, and I even like their other outfielder too, and Melky. I think they're both really good hitters. Our plays tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. It's the only thing with Eaton for me is price jump again. But then again, I mean, he was in the 4s for a little while, then dropped back down, put up 2 huge games in Detroit, against Detroit, and then this series even. And now he's all the way back up to 46. Given the matchup, I think it's fair. Do you have a ton of home run upside, though? No. That's the only problem with me paying 46 for a guy, is I want some sort of upside. I mean, yes, he might steal a base, maybe, probably not. He's not going to homer most likely. He's just a guy that will probably get on base consistently, hopefully, in this game, and he's projected to hit second. So he'll get at bats, especially if Chicago puts up some runs on Pelfrey like we expect them to. So definitely I like him for sure. Next guy down that I like, for me, I think Saunders, if he's in the lineup, I don't hate it. I think there's better spots, though. But I think given his production, he's really the only bat for Toronto besides Russell Martin that I would even consider, given Hellickson's splits that we talked about. So I definitely am okay with Saunders, but given the option of him at 43 and Eaton at 46, I'd take Eaton for sure, without a doubt.
I don't mind Jay Bruce either.
I don't mind Jay Bruce. Always goes low owned, so GPP kind of play. I don't mind him for sure. Bud Norris, like we talked about, pretty bad against left-handed hitters. The upside's not as there in Atlanta as it would be in Cincy, I would say, but I'm fine with it for sure. I think Cespedes in that same price range is in play against a lefty. I mean, they have a low team total as they have been having recently because it's the Mets. But Locke has not been amazing versus righties, and Cespedes is a good hitter against left-handed pitching. So with upside, I mean, Locke has a 366 WOBA to righties, so definitely something you have to consider when you have a guy like Cespedes that has power against left-handed pitching. So I think he's in play as well. I think he could be a guy that could go lower owned in a GPP format too. So kind of, let me see if there's anyone else. I think Brandon Moss is an interesting GPP play. I don't see him in cash only for the reason of where he hits in the lineup.
Exactly.
So than that, I like him a lot. I just think, given that, I think Trout's an okay play. He's going to be under-owned today, but I don't think you need to play him in cash for sure. And those are really the only guys in the 4K range, I think. So we're kind of agreeing, if you're paying for anyone in that 4 to 5K range today in cash, I think it has to be Eaton. Yeah, I don't see anyone else that is like stand out as a must-play in cash to me. Eaton, I don't even think is a must-play in cash. But I think if you're, like we said, anywhere from 4 to 5K, I think he's the main guy in that price range. So going between kind of now the bread and butter of the outfield today is kind of between 3 and 4K. Who are some guys in that price range between 3 and 4K that you like?
Well, just like we talked about, we like the Oakland, so obviously Chris Davis is probably going to be my favorite play between that 3 and 4K range. He's way too cheap. He's got 394 WOBA to lefties. He's got 367 ISO. He's got 39% hard contact. He's way too cheap.
I think today's a day you could pay all 3 outfielders between 3 and 4K and be extremely happy with the guys you get.
Yeah.
Could you get a guy like Eaton? For sure, but I mean, you could also make the case that I can pay 36 for Melky.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously Eaton's, I think, a better play than Melky is, but given the matchup, I mean, for 3,600, that's not a bad price for him today. They have a 5 team total. They have the highest team total, I believe, on the entire day, because it's 5, but it's roughly above 5. So I think Melky's in play. It's Franklin Gutierrez day.
Yeah.
Facing a lefty, he's going to hit second like he always does against the lefty. I mean, we said Drew Smyly's not an awful pitcher, so it's not the best matchup in the world for him, right? But he smashes left-handed pitching. Smyly gives up a lot of fly balls, so it's something that could lead to a home run. I mean, you have a guy that hits a lot of home runs against lefties, and you have a guy that gives up a lot of fly balls. It could be a recipe for success. What's your opinion on I'm not in love with Colby Rasmus in that priority, but what's your opinion on Robbie Grossman today?
I love Robbie Grossman tonight.
I love him so much.
He's got 508 WOBA, the lefties.
Yeah.
And he's got 323 ISO, and 38% hard contact. I love Grossman. He smashes lefties, and I think he's a great play. He's only 3.5 too. I
called his home run on Monday. I like him today again. I mean, to me too, whenever you look at a box score for a guy, right, and he's a young kid, right? He's not a veteran player. Like, he's young. I don't know how old he is, but like this, because he's really helped this lineup a lot. Since he came up,
he is 26.
Okay, so he's not really young, but he's still young. He hasn't played a ton, I wouldn't say, in the majors, I don't believe. I don't remember really seeing him play on any major league club in the last few years. He's come up. He's done really well. I mean, whenever you look through a box score for a guy and you see no zeros in like the last 10 games, that's appealing, right, in cash, for sure. I mean, that's really appealing. And like you said, he's hit lefties extremely well. I mean, he's hit righties well too, but he's hit lefties extremely well. He has some home run upside. He has stolen base upside. It's just he's still cheap. 3,500 is fair. I think he might be. I mean, you're telling me I could get Robbie Grossman at 35, Chris Davis at 37, and like someone like Melky at 36 or Franklin Gutierrez at 3K. It's very appealing to pay between 3 and like 3,800 today in the outfield. I mean, even Malik Smith and Inciarte, I don't hate at that 3K range because they're facing Desclafani that we said is really not good against lefties. I mean, what are your opinion on those guys, on Malik Smith and Inciarte?
I like them, but I think they're more, like you kind of said, they're probably going to be more secondary options, I would think. I think they kind of back seats to guys like, Chris Davis, Melky Cabrera, Grossman, Franklin, just like
I would say. I mean, given that their prices are relatively similar to those other guys we talked about, they don't have nearly as much home run upside as the guys we talked about. They're not nearly as good hitters. So, yeah, I mean, Desclafani's not good against lefties, but I think, Malik Smith and Ciarte, they were both relatively highly owned on Monday when Atlanta had a 4.5 team total, which I would say wasn't surprising given Atlanta doesn't have that high of a team total very often. I was still relatively surprised just for the fact that I looked at them and I was like, they're just not good.
Yeah.
For me. Like, I just don't like rostering guys like that that are hitting under 300 on the year that low. So, I mean, I think we kind of talked about those options. I mean, are there any off-the-wall guys that in the outfield do you think could go really low owned that have nice home run upside today?
Not that I saw, just mainly the guys we talked about, like Mike Trout, Nelson Cruz, Jay Bruce. They always seem to go under owned just because of how expensive they are. I do think one guy that could be interesting, he doesn't have the platoon advantage like we talk about, but Adam Duvall, he's always under owned. I mean, this dude is he's amazing. Like, I think he's a fantastic hitter. I think he
is always under owned.
He is always under, and mainly I think it's just because nobody knows who he is. I think he's one of the best hitters in baseball right now. I mean, this dude's crushing the ball. I mean, he is ridiculous. He never goes on.
For sure.
Yeah, he's got some big time power.
He could hit you too, for sure. And he's under 5K. I would probably lean to Bruce.
I agree.
But yeah, I mean, Duvall definitely is a guy that will definitely be under owned, or he's probably not under owned, but sub 10%, and could hit home run.
He's usually always way under than that. Just nobody seems to like to play him for some odd reason.
I think a lot of the Boston bats will be low owned today.
I
think Chris Young has a decent chance. He's been hitting the ball extremely well. He's one of the cheaper outfielders for Boston. He is the cheapest outfielder for Boston that's going to be in the lineup today. I mean, Mookie's really expensive. Jackie Bradley's really expensive. I like Chris Young as kind of a guy that could do something for you. I mean, like we talked about Gossman with the reverse splits. Chris Young has hit. He's over his career has hit lefties very well and righties. He's done okay. This year he's hit righties very well. I mean, he's hit well. I think Mark Trumbo is underpriced at 3,700. Again, more of a GPP play, but very cheap there. Adam Jones is cheap, but his BVP is awful against knuckleballers, so I wouldn't play him at all today. But, I mean, those guys are very cheap for their team total, so it's something to look at. I think the last guy I want to mention before we kind of talk into closing the show out today, I think Ezekiel Carrera is intriguing for Toronto at 3,100 if he makes the lineup. He's not projected to make the lineup, but if for whatever reason he sneaks in the lineup today and he's hitting anywhere in the probably top 6 of the order, at 31 against Hellickson, if you want to get some Toronto exposure and you don't like Russell Martin and you're not huge on like guys like Donaldson, I would say Carrera could get you some exposure that has stolen base upside. He makes contact. He doesn't have home run upside, no, but he could get you 2 hits and maybe a stolen base. So, I mean, he hit a home run yesterday, so I say that. And he has 2 home runs, but one of them was yesterday. So definitely Carrera, I think, is in play for me again, and that he's only 3,100, so certainly in play there. So, all right, so I'll go ahead and let you talk about your 2 home run calls for today. I'm 2 for 4 so far in our 2 shows, so not awful. So kind of talk about some guys you think have a good chance to homer, your 2 choices today.
All right, so my first one, I'll go back to I'm gonna go back to Joey Votto again
Okay.
against
Bud Norris.
yeah,
All right.
pitcher on there. That's why I can figure out his name. Yeah, so I'll go with him, and then my other guy, I'll go with I'm gonna go with Danny Valencia.
Danny Valencia. Okay.
Yeah, against
All right.
Holland.
I think I'm not going to go first. I'm not going to go first baseman. I think Freeman has a great shot today, for sure. I think I'm going to go Brian Dozier, which is not that much off the wall of a play.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go Dozier, and I'm going to go ahead and go Chris Davis. I think Chris Davis homers again today. I mean, not too off the wall there, but I think Dozier and Chris Davis both have great chances today, given their matchup, to hit a home run. So, all right. So, thank you for tuning in. This is, I think, been our longest podcast. We just hit the hour mark, so we will not be doing one tomorrow since the slate is very small. It's only a 7-game slate, so we will not be doing a podcast tomorrow. We will be back on Friday with the next edition of the podcast. It may be uploaded a little bit later in the day, but it will be up on Friday for the next one. Thank you for tuning in, and if you like the video, leave a comment, like, subscribe. This has been Expo. Corey, we're out. See you guys.